The trial of Alec Baldwin from the set of the movie Rust is underway right now. Alec faces up to 18 months in a prison if found guilty. It's a very interesting case where many people have already been convicted on this set of involuntary manslaughter. Alec's facing the exact same charge, but a different reason, a different way of which the shooting took place. He had the gun in his hand. He allegedly pulled the trigger, but was it his fault that what happened happened? Joining me to discuss, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Unit. Trial's just starting. Let's just kind of start in that area. What's been your thoughts as the opening arguments have begun?
Oh, I have so many on this case, believe it or not. You wouldn't think I would, but there's a few things that I kind of think of and highlight with this case right up front. First of all, we have a very, very public figure. And part of the challenge is when you deal with a public figure is you're going to have to overcome a tremendous amount of confirmation bias.
Hmm.
So you have the Alec Baldwin as the actor. And so if you've liked one of his characters he's portrayed, you're going to have a positive confirmation bias about him, which has nothing to do with him as a person.
Sure.
If you disliked one of the characters he's played or multiples, you will have a negative confirmation bias and have a hard time overcoming that. Politically, he's very outspoken. If you happen to like his politics, so same thing. We have a lot of confirmation biases to overcome. But now let's look at the facts and remove ourselves from this. He's done a few things. Now, granted, I'm always just speaking from my point of view, my context, and
Hmm.
I speak behavior. I admittedly have a pet peeve.
Hmm.
My pet peeve on human behavior is when someone doesn't own their behavior
Hmm.
and you start rationalizing, making excuses. Because when we start rationalizing the obvious is obvious to others, it really undermines our credibility. It undermines people's trust in the things we're saying. And so, with all these caveats, here's my hard time with this one is I spent my entire life from the age of 18 in military and then in law enforcement. One of my adjunct jobs in the FBI was I was a firearms instructor.
Hmm.
And me as an individual fired 10,000 rounds myself at Quantico going through new agent training times 30 people in my class times all the other classes going through. That's a lot of rounds. As a firearms instructor in the Marine Corps, never once were we ever briefed on safety with you got to be careful. This gun's going to go off without it pulling the trigger.
Hmm.
So, with all the data out there, guns do not fire unless someone pulls a trigger.
Hmm.
He's claiming he didn't pull the trigger. It's completely incongruent with data. So now, if you are unaware of what might have caused the gun to go off because you honestly don't have recollection, then those are the things you say. You need to validate the data of what is,
Hmm.
and say, listen, here's this highly unlikely, highly improbable. I've never heard of a case this before, but I honestly don't recall pulling this trigger. I don't know what could have caused it. That's another way to kind of frame it. But he didn't do that. He said he didn't do it. The other thing that I have a massive problem with on the data points, so I went to his Wikipedia page because I was very curious. He's been an actor a very long time.
Hmm.
As an actor, whether you're into guns or not, he has been around firearms on sets a very long time. In 1990, I'm guessing because there might have been other ones in here. In 1990, he was Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October. There was
Hmm.
firearms on that set.
Yep.
So from 1990, he's been in that. He's been in probably another other ones too, but I mean, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation. He was in, geez, um, probably not Beetlejuice, Royal Tenenbaums, Mission Impossible, Jack Dunn. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
I think when you add it up, he's been in more than 100 roles, or at least 100 times where he's
yeah.
handled a firearm on a set.
That's my issue is like if you have over 30, let's see, 34 years at least of dealing with firearms on a set, and you have all these data points of guns don't go off unless triggers are pulled, I have a really hard time with that.
The thing with that, because he's claiming obviously he didn't pull the trigger. They're saying you did. They took the weapon in for testing to take a look. Could there have been
Mhm.
something wrong with this? And they did it
Yep.
before the trial. They did their
Mhm.
testing on it. They said, yeah, we think you had to have. And then they destroyed the weapon. The FBI literally destroyed the weapon. They took a hammer to it, hit it to see if something would have happened with it, which didn't make any sense at all because the gun wasn't dropped. It wasn't like tossed somewhere. The test didn't even make sense for
Right.
the context to which it was being tested. So you don't have the weapon to even look at anymore, or have anyone else even, or have his defense look at it, have their experts look at it because it's
Yeah.
gone. That to me seems like a fatal mistake on the part of the prosecution and the FBI when looking at this weapon to destroy a piece of the piece of key evidence in this whole case.
Totally with you. What a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really serve the purpose because you have so many data points of those things just not happening
Yeah.
that I don't think you needed to put it through that kind of extreme
Hmm.
circumstances to prove the point
Yeah.
by destroying the weapon.
It's like, well, just
Um,
melt it down.
just
Why not?
it was it was a dumb move. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just dumb.
It did
But
it. Yeah.
I think luckily though for serving of justice on this one, because there's such a track record of really well documented this doesn't happen.
Hmm.
I I think the the really bad actions of the FBI's folks in destroying the weapon hopefully won't have an impact on justice in the case.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.